years. We've already seen it. I talked to a lot of doctors here locally because the reimbursement levels are inevitably affected by that. And also the creation embedded in that legislation is IPAB, which is the Independent Payment Advisory Board, IPAB, and it is 15 folks who weren't elected. They're bureaucrats, and they have got a mission in life, and that is to basically get in between the patient and the doctor and start to cut Medicare by actually cutting it right there without allowing the doctor and the patient to work that out. There are other problems. Just today, Patrick, this was really interesting to me. I knew about this, but they really made the case today. Guess who a surprising group that's being deeply affected, at least potentially, up to $19 million by this? This will probably surprise you. Children's Hospital of Tidewater. And let me tell you why. This is not, I mean, they sat me down for about I was at their facility over an hour, but about 20 or 30 minutes of it was laying out what's coming down because of the patient, Affordable Care Act and Patient Protection Plan. All of that is related directly and is affecting Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters because of they're reducing funding to hospitals across the country, and included in that is CHKD. And so we're trying to get ahead of it. Dr. Tom Price is a good friend and a colleague of mine, and he's got great legislation that does so many things that what you just mentioned right there, Patrick. I'm a co-sponsor of that bill. We have many, many things in the right plan of what we're for, but I have voted unapologetically to repeal the Affordable Care Act. And Admiral, kind of back to your question, I'll let Mr. Hirschfield answer for himself on that, but I am certain that he would not vote to repeal it. I have. We could talk about Dodd-Frank. That, to me, is a massive overreach. These contrasts will become increasingly clear over the next 70-plus days. Patrick, I'm with you. I voted to repeal it, but we can replace it, and it's affecting not only the seniors, but the CHKD, amazingly.
Yeah. Two more questions?
Yes.
Yeah, Russell Braun. With respect to TRICARE, in the defense budget, the MOAA, Marine Military Officers Association,
yes.
Put out a really interesting article about what Obama wants to do with TRICARE. Basically, to really raise the monthly or annual
premiums,
fees,
that's correct, and deductibles. And
everything else. And then to support that, he got George Soros' shell organization, the Americans for Democratic Action or something like that, to come up with a counter plan. It's in the MOAA magazine from last month.
Okay.
Which is absolutely absurd. It's absurd. Now,
let me walk you through that. Yes, there is a fierce debate going on about the future of TRICARE for Life. Let me just kind of give you a little inside the story. I think it'll help illustrate exactly how I feel about that. I've been in office, I think, about 3 weeks, and I had never set foot in the House Armed Services Committee. Just hadn't had a reason to. But we had our first hearing, and it was then Secretary of Defense Gates and Admiral Mullen, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. So walked in there, and we're going down the hallway, and the staffer's right next to me saying, "Okay, sir, now this meeting you're going to right now, this is the House Armed Services meeting, and who's testifying today?" And I said, "Okay." And then they said, "Now your seat." I remember they said, "Your seat's right there, about right here where Sean is." And so I'm about 10 feet away from Secretary of Defense Gates. Never met him before, and right next to him was Admiral Mullen. And that's when it kind of hit me. I thought, this is the real deal. Here we go. And they worked from the top down to where I was, took about a little while. So it gets to me, and chairman of the committee says, "Chairman recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Ridgel, for 5 minutes. So I push my button so my microphone comes on, and sir, here's the answer to your question. I said, "Secretary of Defense Gates, Thank you for what you're doing for our country, and Admiral Mullen, thank you for your service. Now, we need to talk about TRICARE. And this is on C-SPAN. You can see it. We went back and forth, and I knew why. I've been sitting here by the 2nd District to defend each of you and to make sure that promises that are made are kept. And if we want to talk about it for future generations, that's an interesting discussion. We can have that. But I said to the Secretary, I said, Mr. Secretary, this is a breach of trust to break this bond, as I see it, with our veterans and start to just charge them whatever. Just whatever. Just depending on, well, budget's a little tight, so whatever. Well, what does that mean? What about what you make per month? You know, what about the retirement benefit? What about the other benefit? You just think, well, we just can't afford it, we just won't do that? It's not how I was raised. And we just went back and forth. I was respectful, but unapologetic in taking on the Secretary of Defense. I don't think it's right to raise the fees on TRICARE. And I know some veterans even disagree with me on that. That's okay. I don't agree with my wife on everything either. Right? It's okay to disagree on some things. My view is that for that 18-year-old coming in, you make a full disclosure and you say, look, you just need to know, if a recruiter told you that in 20 years you get medical care the rest of your life and you'll never pay a dime, that is not true. Now, if they want to go through a full disclosure like that, and every time you re-up and you're enlisted as an enlisted person, if they want to say, no, we just want to remind you, your benefits could change, and they could change in a radical way. Now, if you still want to sign up, wonderful. If you don't, we just want to make sure you know what you're signing up for. We're not doing that at this point, and I'm really working with our military to make sure just the full disclosure, you know, when you sign up and re-up, common sense things. Sir, did I answer your question? I trust I did.
Yes, you did.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Yes.
Congressman, thanks for your service, sir. My name's Paul LaFon, and one of my concerns, and I retired from the military with 8 years of service, and when I went to 60% disability with the VA, I had to waive my Navy check and turn my active duty check over to my VA benefits and no longer draw my active duty check. I understand there's a bill before Congress right now for people that are considered over 6 years of service to draw concurrent 2 checks.
Concurrent receipt.
Concurrent with people that have 20 years of service, draw 2 checks. It's supposed to be acted for people that have 6 years or greater. Will that come to fruition?
If we're speaking, and there's an assumption here, we're speaking of the same bill, I'm a co-sponsor of that, concurrent receipt. Now, will it pass? There's a great deal of uncertainty about that. There are so many challenges facing our country, and it's difficult to move. I'm being very candid with you. I feel like when I leave here tonight, you know, I need to know that I've looked you in the eye and I've just shared with you the truth as best as I understand it, and I know it. But it'd be easy for me to tell you that, hey, I think this is going to pass. I think it's going to be quite challenging.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
But we're advocating for it, and we could go into that more if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think we're going to have close remarks for a moment, or close remarks for a moment.
Okay.
If you have the chance to talk to some people.
Oh, certainly.
Keep the schedule going. I'd like you to help me do something.
Okay.
We have a young man, well, not a young man, someone who would really like to recognize for more than $250 a week for, you know, the victory operation.
Wow.
And he's a veteran too. His name is Neil Bradley. And we have a special gift for you from Nick Shaw. Come on up and
250 houses a week.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Neil. Thank you so much, Neil. Let me, listen, you know, my wheels are spinning right now. You think, okay, what would be the best thing to share with veterans and their families? First of all, I always want us to be mindful of those who did not, that they weren't met at the pier by a loving family or at the tarmac at Oceana. But instead, those of the fallen, they were met in Dover. This is a very special district. Highest concentration of men and women in uniform in the country. And I'm not going to go through what assets we have here, military assets. Frankly, you know, and it started a long time ago by people talking about it. They shouldn't have. But anyway, there's been a heavy loss in our community. And we're just mindful of our Gold Star families. And if we have a Gold Star family here tonight, we pay tribute to you, we honor you. My friend and Thelma's friend, George Lutz, the Gold Star parent, you know, he taught me this. He said, Scott, you know, we're recognizing, you know, there are days where we recognize our veterans, but you know, the Gold Star families, Memorial Day, certainly, but it's just very special. I'm just mindful of the heavy price, I think all of us are, that has been paid for our freedom. It truly is unique. America is a very special place, and it's hard work to keep the Republic in the center of the channel. Just yesterday morning, I invited 10 folks that I know down to my office. They're business people, you know, they're at that age, and I guess their 60s or late 50s, early 60s or whatever. They've started to play golf a lot and all of this. And I don't resent that. I don't play golf, but anyway, the reason I mentioned the whole golf thing is that my wife said, "What are you doing this morning?" I said, "Well, I'm going down there to meet some of these folks and talk to them." And she said, "Well, what are you going to tell them?" I said, "I'm going to tell them to get off the golf course and start fighting for their country." And I mean that. This is an all-hands-on-deck in America. I'm a business guy. I've been looking at financial statements for 30 years, and I'll stop, Cam. I won't keep going, but I tell you this. This idea that it's not fair to our grandchildren, no. You got to bring it up not one, but 2 generations. It's everyone in this room. We cannot stay on this fiscal trajectory. It will rock the foundation of our republic. We have young men and women right now, some in Helmand Province, little old Corporal half scared to death. He's meeting his obligation to his country, and we are failing him here. So my message to you is to implore you, whatever you've done, I'm so grateful for what you've done. Maybe we need to hit 300 next week. And the rest of us, but listen, I told these fellas, I said, look, don't complain about this country if you're not willing to at least put a bumper sticker on your car. If you don't want to offend your friend, come on. It is time to be counted. Even if you're for the other guy, be counted. I mean that. This is not, we have been so blessed as a country that we've gotten, I think, a little bit weak. We have to fight for our country. When I say fight for it, I mean in the very best sense of the word. In a spirited, civil, fact-based manner. Because our ideas are better. And I'm convinced of this. That's why I go to work every day, really believing in what we're doing. Because our ideas are better. They're better for liberty, they're better for freedom, they're better for our children. They're better for Medicare, they're better for our veterans. Thank you from one American to another. Thank you for your service to your country. Thank you so much. And let's get out there and win this election all the way down the ticket. November the 6th, 7 p.m. Thanks so much. I really appreciate your service.
Please give another round of applause for Congressman Rick. Before I got the opportunity to serve as a Congressman deputy campaign manager, I worked as his outreach coordinator, spent about 16 hours a day working with the Congressman. You can hear from his voice that he's a hard-working man. And as you said, we have to be